Hi, hello, this is JulesTheHuman here, and welcome to the JulesTheHuman Anime Hour. I'm one of your hosts, JulesTheHuman, and every week we go out into the world and watch a little bit of anime, and then we come back here and talk about it. And today is the second time we're going to be talking about Chrono Crusade, an anime that was my pick, some random anime that I wanted to check out. But in the future, next week is the last time that we're going to be talking about Chrono Crusade because we have a ton of anime to pick for our anime chest. All of these were suggested by either me or Matt or by you, the community. And the way to do that is a $5 super chat on YouTube and 500 bits on Twitch, one or the other. I said well, one or the other, 500 bits on Twitch or $5 super chat on YouTube, and suggest us an anime. We'll put it in the chest to be picked out randomly for us to watch in the future. And shout out to those that watch later on. You could do it after I watch that too. So if you watch this video later on, you can submit a $5 super chat and it'll show up on my feed. And yeah, you can get your anime suggestion in that way. But I don't go on these anime journeys alone. I go with my co-host, Matt Galley. Matt, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing well. Been, just playing some board games, watching some anime, dotting the T's, crossing the I's.
My board game interest is peaking pretty high.
It's been peaking.
It's a lot of fun. Board games having text like things to touch and little tokens or cards.
Yeah, exactly. It makes it tactile.
Yeah.
And I like there's so many different types of board games of different types of depth of complexity of different, solo play, co-op, competitive, and, etc. So there's just so much out there for board gaming.
And so many animes, because this anime, Chrono Crusade, we had not on our radar at all. It popped on my Crunchyroll feed and I was like, here, suggested for you. And I was like, that looks fine. Let's add it to the thing. I gotta say, Chrono Crusade at the top for episode 5 through 8. We're gonna be going through episode 5 through 8 today. So if you haven't watched it or don't really want to watch it, we'll give you a rundown of what's going on and then give our thoughts about it. But I don't know, man. This show is kind of fun. It's not too deep. There's some like stuff and tropes that you're kind of used to. And it's like,
It feels
okay,
like just a step beyond something that I could see myself just like watching on a Saturday morning growing up,
pretty much.
It, it's
Yeah.
it's like it's not super monster of the week that there's a narrative that's being followed episode to episode. I even compare it to something like Avatar: The Last Airbender in terms of its like pacing and the way that like it just handles the routine of its episodes, so to speak.
Yeah, it does
There's
have
definitely
sort
a
of that.
formula it follows.
Yeah, it has that humor as well of something like Avatar or something you would, like you said, watch on a Saturday morning where there is this epic stuff, but they do cram in a lot of humor and it doesn't feel super forced or doesn't overstay its welcome. Having Rosette be the lead funny girl doing funny faces and whatever, I'm like, okay, I'm down for it. So I'm kind of enjoying it. The only thing that may prevent me from giving it a really good score next week is the animation, but I don't know. It does look okay. I mean, okay. So I watched some of the
Like
episodes
in a vacuum, right?
in a vacuum.
In a vacuum, when you're thinking about it at the time, what this was probably compared to, like it's pretty good. Like it has a very consistent art style that it's able to carry through. I like the setting and the way they kind of like tie that into the type of stories that we're getting out of the individual episodes, and it manages to impress for what it is, for what it was at the time.
I think my problem was watching it on a big screen because sometimes what I do when I'm watching these anime, I have a big enough phone. It's a Samsung S24. It's huge. So I can split my screens and put the thing at the top, like what I'm watching at the top, and then take my notes at the bottom. It was perfect. Like I watched it on my phone as the littlest screen at the top, and I'm like, this looks great. Maybe my problem was all of
I
my
will
screens are
say,
too big.
I will say I watched a bit of the first episode in English, and I
Yeah,
didn't mind the voice acting at all, but the sound mixing
it's
kind
so
of
bad.
got to me.
It's so bad. I know what
Kind
you're
of
talking
got
about.
me, and I couldn't kind of get past that without the without subtitles, and the subtitling
Are so
for
bad. The subtitles are so bad.
So I went back to Japanese just because at least the subtitles are consistent.
I'm living through it. It's funny to me. It's funny
It
with
definitely adds a new layer of humor to the show.
that might be why I'm enjoying it as well, is because they're talking. It sounds like I don't even know. It doesn't sound like they're in a different room. Like the English voice actors are great. The way they're exuding and doing their things.
Yeah, they're like they came to the studio, you
Yeah,
know. They're not phoning it in by any means.
they may have came to the studio by way of the closet or something. Like it sounds like possibly them speaking through a river or a little underwater, or the sync is on while they're doing their audio. I'm like, y'all are doing good. But what room were y'all recording this in? Because I
Yeah.
agree, it's
And
bad.
the post production too, you know, sometimes it's like I can barely even understand what that person is saying over like the music, over like, you know, because it was I got through this entire first episode 5, got through it in English, and then it was episode 6 during the transform sequence, I think it was. I
Mhm.
was like, what is she even saying? And so I swapped it over and I was like, that's nothing compared to like, you know, and I checked a few other things, and man, it's
You
just it made it a hard pass.
you're gonna have to help me, because in episode 6, I was watching English. Those subtitles did not help. It sounded cool because the character we meet in episode 6, she has a German accent. I was like, okay, you went for it. Like I immediately knew who you were and all this stuff, but I have no clue. I think her name is one thing, and I think she said some stuff, and I'm like, whatever. I'll see. It's a fun time trying to listen to it in English. So that's what I'm doing. I totally agree though. It is tough. I'm
It's
just
rough.
taking it in,
Yeah, exactly.
having a silly time. Definitely. So let's get into it. Episode 5 of Chrono Crusade, Militia. What happens in episode 5?
Rosette and Chrono are questioned on whether they believe Ledager was connected to Ion in any way. Rosette becomes emotional during the conversation due to her little brother being abducted by Ion, and Sister Kate reminds her that they are to abide by rules and regulations lest they become blinded by emotion. Rosette tries to play by her own rules and gets caught by the minister, with him giving her the suggestion to join the militia, members of the order that get to carry out their own investigations. Simultaneously, Asmaria asks Sister Kate on how to be more like Rosette, with Kate taking her to their underground training simulation facility. Asmaria and Rosette both enter at the same time, with the minister adding in an extra complication, putting a mind eater on the field for Rosette to fight. Rosette is forced to perform a dive on Asmaria to help her fight off the Mind Eater and regain her powers.
So we get some information about Ion and a little bit about the world building before the finger in the nose fiasco here. Ion is the one that Ion is the one that took Rosette's brother Joshua. Ion is seeking the power of God. There's a war against heaven, and he wants to remake the universe. Pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
Bad guy. I'm down for it. In this world of angels versus demons, we've only seen we've seen a lot of the bad and the good and
Mhm,
like
mhm.
supernatural sort of stuff.
But it
Uh,
is at least it's good to know that like he's kind of acting as his own like he's like his own piece on the board. If you were to say like here's the forces of heaven and here's the forces of hell, it's like, oh, here's Ion as well. Like
yeah,
he's not operating under the flag of who they refer to as Satan.
yeah.
um he's just doing his own thing because he wants to act as though he was God. So it kind of like it does characterize him a little bit.
Isn't that what canonically Satan wanted though? No,
I-
I don't know.
I'm just
No,
taking
no, no.
what the show's given to me in
Sure.
stride. I'm not very familiar with real world religion
Yeah,
ideologies
gotcha. I
or
definitely agree with you where he has this
lore.
separate thing.
Sorry,
The
not
Jesus
trying to be
lore.
disrespectful, for
Yeah,
lack of a better word that could come to mind.
sure. Um, yeah, I don't really know what Satan's canonical thing was to either stay in hell and rule there or wanting to go back up, or he wanted to go back up and then he went back down or something. I don't know that either. But he does know that he wants to remake the universe. He must possess Asmaria and Joshua, and Ion swore to make his own apocalypse. We know specifically now that Rosette joined the Sisterhood specifically to find her brother. Um, Remington, I want to get on the topic of Remington because he does do some weird stuff. And by this episode, and I could talk about how I feel later on, but in this episode, he was pretty suspect. I mean, do
Little
you
bit.
feel
With him,
because
like it's one of those things where we get back to our concept of no wasted time, and it really felt like
yeah,
the show wanted you to soak in the idea that like he was putting her in a dangerous situation where he was separating her from Chrono and asking her for that little piece and stuff. Like it felt
I'll take that piece because you're going to be going down
the
there
thing
and
that can decrease the amount of time you have left to live. Give
yeah,
it
hand
here.
that over.
Hand it over.
And Chrono, come with me, and Rosette has to do this challenge on her own.
But I will say that with his voice actor in English, I am way less suspect of him
Oh yeah,
as
the
a
voice actor
character.
is not.
He sounds way more like a like I don't know, the accent that whoever is playing is doing a good job. Like they're giving a good performance, but he just gives kind of like obnoxious dad energy
Yeah.
with the English voice actor. In the Japanese voice actor, it's a lot more subtle, and it's a lot more just kind of like voice of authority type
Okay.
deal performance, which is what made me feel like a little bit more sus of him initially. But then his actions, even by the end of the episode, even though we see that he doesn't necessarily act against Rosette, it does characterize him as somebody that is definitely an ends justify the means type person, which with the stakes of an apocalypse at hand, those two things kind of coming in the same
Yeah.
episode. I don't know. It's just like, I'm not counting him out as a
Double
like somebody
agent.
that might make a morally conflicted decision somewhere in the future that might become a point of contention. But yeah, I haven't written him off entirely as just the
No,
silly dad.
because later on he does sort of redeem himself in my head, but in this episode he specifically, like we're talking about, asks her to go alone on this mission. They to an area where they have controlled spirit energy. And we just take this for fact. Like here we are, Sister Kate takes Asmaria as they're chilling and hanging out and spitting tea because Asmaria's like, I want to be like Rosette. And she's like, what the fuck? No, do not this
Spitting
one.
out the special tea that got gifted to her from God knows
Yeah.
where.
Yeah. And Sister Kate takes down Asmaria to this cold area, this exorcist training area that has artificial poltergeist with controlled spirit energy. And just in that instance, Remington is taking Rosette there to do her trial, but he releases a real monster, a real mind eater. I'm fine with this like training area. My question is like, what do you mean controlled spirit energy? Like there's, it definitely gave me the vibe of like there's something deeper here, and not so much that the Magdalene order is like completely bad, but it did put into my head like they may have done some shady stuff in the name of war. You know what I mean? In this war against heaven and hell and all that stuff, which I guess is fine when you're talking about the world at stake and Aeon bringing an apocalypse, but it's not as clean and cut as I may have been led to. Well, okay, maybe they're carrying guns. They're nuns with guns. So how clean how
Guns with
clean can their
guns.
hands be really? But in my head, I was like, whoa. Y'all have like a basement thing with like captured spirits. Okay. And then Remington releases a mind eater that we just had. We just had it just on layaway somewhere. Like, whoa, okay, that's kind of crazy. So it definitely
It
gave me
definitely
some.
gives the order kind of more of a mystique and kind of a
Sure.
more of a, oh, they're not just churches and monasteries. Like they have some crypts. They got some maybe skeletons in the closet that
Some
we don't really
demons.
know about. Some demons in that
Demons in the
closet.
closet. Yeah,
Demons in the basement.
literally.
Skeletons in the closet. Uh, so it definitely lends yeah, just some more intrigue, some more potential for further exploration of the world that's being built for the Magdalene Order as like because even by somewhere in these episodes we see that Sister Kate is taking orders from like a greater power within the order that's
Hmm.
also has influence, some sort of what would you call it, collective or
Yeah, it's just a
I'm forgetting the word,
hierarchy, I
council,
guess.
like the
Council.
council of the Magdalene Order or
Hmm.
some shiz like that.
Because I'm assuming the Magdalene Order is in this area in New York. They're probably one of the more powerful because of something that we find out later in these episodes. But they're probably orders around the world that
Exactly.
answer to whoever. What did you think about? Okay, they're giving us a lot of stuff here, and we got to just take it at face value. Soul Basement, crazy mind eater devil here, and we're like, okay, crazy. Now Remington's asking Rosette to do a soul exorcist alone. So Rosette does like this deep dive, like some sort of exorcism on Asmaria, talking about her causality burden. She's burdened by her power, trying to free her. This is like some this was interesting. I don't know
Uh-huh.
exactly what happened. Like she dove into her soul or something because they were naked and this whole thing. They had a fight for Asmario's body or soul or whatever with the demon. Were you down for this? Were you just
Yeah, I
like,
mean, I was like, this is
cool,
fine. Like
this is fine.
it's we're pushing Rosette to her limits, for a reason that I buy in. I buy in that she's kind of like become the surrogate older sibling to
Mhm.
Asmaria and is willing to do anything to protect her. And as we find out later, it may also be due in part to some sort of like guilt that she has over something that involves the way that Joshua fell into Aeon's hands.
Mhm.
So we still don't know anything about that. But yeah, I was like down for it. I was definitely bought in, and even though Asmaria has kind of like gotten to the degree of being able to like ask for help, now it's like, all right, well, like I'm okay with being around others, but now how do I get strong? And so we introduce we introduce a demon that's gonna attack the inner psyche of a character, as Mario specifically, to reveal what's holding her back from being strong. And we didn't talk about it, but like somewhere along the way, while Rosette's doing her training, she hears like the echoes of words that the minister gave to her in training. Basically, to whatever, like fear, conquering fear is all about taking another step forward. So she
Mhm.
imparts that same wisdom to Asmaria, and I'm like, cool, like that's a great way of me buying into Asmaria being able to like handle anything that the show might be able to throw moving forward, because we
Definitely.
establish Rosette and Chrono as very capable, if not clumsy.
I don't think they're that capable.
I mean,
Um,
early on, like we see that they're like, they're a
they
partner
can,
duo and
yeah,
they're handling investigations.
yeah.
She manages to somehow get buildings collapsing and blow up cars, but
What I,
they're living.
yeah. What I mean is like together, the Magdalene Order does show force quite often in this episode, or not in this episode, but in other episodes where they're like handing them guns and they're like boom, 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 like in Central Park or whatever, or doing something. And in their numbers, they are capable. But I'm saying like in the face of all these devils, if it was Chrono and Rosette, they can hold their own for a little bit. But I do like that they're introducing these other things that they can do, like the mind dive, or we saw
Oh yeah.
Chrono's power
Okay.
before. We see the crosses that they can put to like create a barrier around them. So I like them
Okay, then
introducing the actual
competent, maybe
ideas.
not capable is the right word, capable of doing anything, but like competent.
Yeah.
Like Asmaria, how do we take a choir girl and convincingly make her a demon hunter? And I think this was a good
And
test
she's a
of will.
child.
And she's a
And she's
child,
a child.
yes. So I think this was a really good way of like doing a test of will for
Definitely.
her.
Yes. And I did like it. Yeah. It was weird, but I'm down. This episode was weird. And I'm like,
Again, it's
okay.
like with a show like this, I'm willing to buy into. We've never talked about a soul exorcism before, but like that's what we're doing. And so just, buckle in and there's going to be consequences and you just got to roll with it. Like as long as it's providing like satisfying payoff and like setup and or payoff, because of me having to suspend my disbelief of things being introduced super
And yeah,
quick, I'm okay with it.
really good story elements too, like you're saying with Asmaria getting over and what's going on with her. Really, all those story elements add to this weird thing that they just threw us into, and I'm like, okay, that's
Yeah.
cool.
I see what you're doing. I pick up what you're putting down. But if we're doing something weird just for the sake of it, and it feels like that there's no consequences for the thing happening in the first place, that's when I'm just like, what are we doing?
Exactly. Episode 6 of Chrono Crusade, Jewel Witch. What happens in episode 6?
We are introduced to Satella, the Jewel Summoner, and see Sister Kate in dismay as she was forced to send Rosette to act on info obtained through other militia. Rosette, Chrono, and Asmaria meet Satella after her dealings with the mob go south, and she helps fight off the released ghouls, but discovers Chrono is a demon, putting him at sword point, only leaving due to her power diminishing. Rosette's team is forced to continue on foot as a bigger problem erupts in the city overnight. And while chasing down the source of trouble, Rosette and Satella bump heads as they run into each other again. Chrono doing his best to showcase his humility, Satella continues to reject him as just another demon.
I did not know what her name was until maybe halfway through the episode because of the English and the copy, the closed captioning. She said Hexa Doomconf or something. And I'm like, is that her name? Is her name Hexa? So I wrote down Hexa. She's the Jewel Witch, but we find out later it's Satella. Satella Harvenheit, which is a great name. So this is Rosette's first mission to check on these smugglers. The Elder gave her some strange new bullets. I'm glad we don't see the Elder again. He's there, but like they mentioned
I'm
him in this
okay with
episode.
us not seeing him anymore.
Yeah,
Except for like when they put him in like the backdrop with everybody else every once and again, and it's
I'm
like,
cool with it.
yes, no lines, no screen time other than just background.
He's the guy that makes the bullets that are cool.
Yep.
Rosette, Asmaria, and Chrono go, and they are helped by Satella. And Satella, I was like, yo, I am so down because she spirit transformed kinda. She has this knight. She has like they took the time to like make her transform kind of, and epic armor. She has like a spirit, I guess, or she can. I don't really know what her abilities are,
She's a
but they look
jewel
cool.
summoner.
A jewel, so
Whatever jewel she has in her little gauntlet probably
okay,
relates to whatever summoning spell
because
she can like cast.
yeah, because we only saw her ever use that knight guy
This episode.
this episode. So I was like, that's cool,
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, why can't all the Magdalene Order have one of those just little gauntlets? But that's fine.
Will say, so her transformation sequence was when the English voice acting, I was like, I can't understand what she's saying, so I swapped to Japanese and I hopped back. And rewatched this whole episode from the start at that point. Her introduction with Asmaria, she gets kind of characterized differently, and this is where like the whole debate of adapting for language and stuff
Okay.
can be translating can just be a little weird, because in the Japanese voice acting, she's very like, oh, like I'm so glad I was able to save this small child. It's crazy that something this big has shown up to attack you. But in the English voice acting, it's like, oh, all right, get out of my way. I can't believe you tried to fight something like this.
That was pretty much what I got. Yeah, from the English. That's what it was. It was just like,
So
who
it's
are
just
you?
it's just one
Don't
of those
care.
things where I'm just like, I don't now I don't know who she is. you
Okay.
know?
Yeah.
Kind of. I do, but it's just one it's just an observation I had that I definitely wanted to mention.
But that characterization from the English, like you're saying, where she's a little arrogant, doesn't really care, she's doing her job that she wants to do, that sort of makes sense with what happens later in this
Mhm.
episode
I
where
agree.
she's like trying to get away, and then Rosette like won't leave her alone, and it's like, we're running in the same direction. It's like, get away, what are you doing? No, we're
Yeah.
not going to work together. So that's why I thought it fell in line that she's that character, she's
Yeah.
that solo lone wolf. I'm doing my own thing. I lost somebody. Don't care about anybody else.
But
And I'm
also
doing
I'm in it
this.
for the money and I
Yeah.
won't let my reputation be stained as we find out. I'm a pro. I'm a capital G
I
gamer.
do like Rosette double fisting her guns. That was an epic moment. She was just like pew 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 pew. I'm down for that. As Maria got holy water on Chrono, and that's how Satella found out that Chrono is a devil, does not want to work with them, don't care, whatever. Um, they don't stray so far in these 4 episodes with the funny, and there was a lot of funny in episode 8, but there was this scene in the park scene where they're just getting hot dogs, man. They're just vibing and trying to get some hot dogs. So they get hot dogs in the park. They Rosette goes and plays soccer with some kids, and it's pretty funny. I don't know, I like it. I enjoy the silliness. I'm down for the silliness in the show.
No, yeah, I like that they get one for what's her name?
Satella.
Satella. I like that they gave one to Satella and her response is like, this isn't even a worst. This isn't
Yeah.
even a brat. Like
that was funny. I was not thinking that. I was like, oh yeah, that's funny.
you think
She's
it's about
German.
to be a wholesome moment and she just insults them. It's
Yeah.
like, oh.
It was good. We find out that Sotelo has been in America for 10 years. She's searching for someone. Chrono ends up connecting with the Jewel Witch a little bit because of his empathy and trying to help. So that was cool. We get Egyptian zombies in the park. The monster absorbs his minions, and
Those guys
Rosette
were
shoots the
just
devil.
coming forth from the ground, leaving the ground unscathed.
Yeah.
They were just spawning in.
Fuck it. We're doing it. Who cares? I don't know. These scenes are really funny. I love Rosette's faces. I'm down for Rosette being a silly girl, just doing whatever. Yeah, I'm enjoying this episode. I think Satella is an interesting character to put here. How does she fit on the board now?
I definitely think, that's something I wanted to talk about. I think she's the perfect character to now introduce after we've gotten Asmaria kind of introduced. They did it really well. They introduced Asmaria. We rescue her. She's a part of the group. She gets her little episode to get over her inner conflict, and now she's on board. She's part of she's making up our trio. So now who do we get next? We get this experienced older magic user who operates on the fringes, and we can't really tell what alignment she might hold. But one thing's for certain is that even after what's it called? A demon has shown her kindness, she is very much solidified, maybe apprehensive, but at least verbally stands her ground on the fact that she's like, I will not trust a demon. Like, even after he showcased that he could relate to her and would put himself in front of her when she's in harm's way, causing harm to only himself, she's just, nope, don't trust him.
Was this the episode we got the flashback with her? Where she did there was a little short flashback, one scene or a couple frames of her with somebody in fire, and there's a demon there. I don't know if it was this episode.
I don't know if I blinked and missed that.
Okay,
I
she
can't even
was.
remember that happening,
She might have
honestly.
like reminisced on that, thinking about demons, and it showed a younger her, which I'm assuming
It
is a
might that
younger
might have
her.
been the next episode when Ion kind of like is
Probably, yeah.
poking at all of them,
I think
you
that's what
know?
it was. Yeah. So there's definitely something more there, and I'm
Yeah.
curious how. I do like how these are autonomous characters that we're sort of peeking into, and I do like the way they're doing this story where these characters have done something. These characters have lived before. We know Chrono has some sort of history, has some sort of history of him being an evil demon,
Yeah,
evil
because
devil.
even like all of the henchmen of Ion have some sort of, connection to him, and they poke at the fact that he probably has some secrets. He's probably done some stuff.
That's super cool. I like that there's something there in these characters whenever, in the next episode when they meet again, they have something that they're referencing. It's like, well, I want to know what that is. Like what happened that these characters have lived a little bit and now we're peeking into their lives in this story. So I do like the way they story tell this where even Satella may have something, have some connection, some story that we might not know of, maybe even connected to Aeon. Like we don't even know like what that is, or Chrono maybe without even knowing. But she is in this world now, so she's in this web of all these pieces moving. Episode 7, Devil. What happens in episode 7?
We see as terrible omens ensue as Chrono can feel Aeon's presence approaching. An ancient seal in Central Park is broken, and Sister Kate's forces are tasked to restore it. The land itself seems to be trying to kill people off as ghouls begin to rise, and Satella arrives and does an AoE clear on the entire horde. Aeon shows up to taunt and tempt Rosette and her group as Chrono pleads with everyone to not believe a word that he says. He holds Chrono by the throat and uses Rosette to attempt to bring out Chrono's true form, as Maria offers herself up as an apostle to Aeon, but her powers vaporize his form, with Chrono stating it was just a copy. Aeon decides to play the long con, and Joshua appears to be in some sort of psychosis break.
This episode, I don't know if you felt it. It was a little jarring to begin with. Like we were on this other thing, and then this episode started, and it's like eclipse, black sun. I'm like, Did I skip to a different episode? I was like, where did this come from? It felt kind of jarring. I don't know if you felt that, or you were just on the ride, but like,
I felt it. It was jarring, but it was definitely jarring. But I definitely think it was something that we needed, if not to happen a little bit sooner.
okay, yeah,
With introducing Ion as a direct presence and situated in the story. I mean, I guess we kind of got it with the crow that brought the guy and the gun to their headquarters, and then turn into the big guy. Like that was kind of like Aeon's doing. But
yeah.
we definitely needed to get Aeon in the picture, because if we want his hopefully ultimate downfall to be satisfying, we as the audience need to grow to hate him. And I think this show did a good job with that. This
Yeah,
episode did a good job with that.
a little bit. I agree. Finally, we have not seen this Aeon that has been mentioned. Something that a lot of people have been
Early
bringing up.
2000s, the peak uh antagonist design, tall, incredibly tall, slender figure, suave speaking with gray hair.
Bro, he's got a mouth on him. He was yapping, and I was like,
He was
no,
yapping and he was snogging, bro.
yeah, forgot about that part. Ion, or Zion, as the closed captionings called it a couple times. He has come. He brings destruction Joshua thinks there was like this really interesting thing at the beginning where they're talking about Ion and then just showing Joshua being like, man, Ion's incredible. And it's like, wait, what?
We
We
talking about the
know.
same person?
Yeah, are we? Yeah, it's like so
He was the
crazy.
greatest guy around.
Yeah.
What about all the murder? What murder?
It was like so that instantly made me think that two things. Either he took Joshua away so early that he molded him to be this other person, or he has him brainwashed
I think
or under his power.
something regarding Rosette and Joshua's family history, probably somewhere within everything that he probably did something similar that he tried to do to everybody else. Just tempting them with words and trying to play at uh un a lack
Or
of belief, to try to turn them into like his minions, his subjects, because the apocalypse that he wants to bring probably is something that he can't do of his own volition, so
no,
he definitely needs to have the right catalysts to cause it to happen.
because that's the whole crux of it, right? That he wants the apostles for the power, for their powers to do this thing. And once he collects enough apostles, he can level up and destroy the world,
Mhm.
pretty much.
Or
Um,
somehow channel their power to cause the
yes,
event to happen.
but he still has a lot of power on his own. They made it
Yeah.
very clear.
Yes.
But in order to do this other thing, create an apocalypse, he needs the apostle powers. We have some zombies in Central Park, and we find out that again, another little stretch of the imagination, but like it's not egregious, and I'm just taking it as info. You find out that Central Park is like connected to Limbo, sort of, and there's been a seal on top of Central Park because it's like the most connected. And it's like, that's a stretch, but I'm like, it's not too far away from something that could happen. It's kind of believable in this world. And while it is something outlandish, I guess, Central Park being this whole thing, I'm just like, yeah, I'll take it. This is
Sure.
info I need.
Yeah.
Um,
They're at least, in my opinion, it makes it, it's a way of utilizing uh actual locations in a fictitious narrative in interesting ways.
I know you had mentioned in the last episode that they changed Chrono Crusade so that they wouldn't get sued or something. The name, the lettering for that. When I think it's in this episode where they introduce Brooklyn, New York or whatever. It's like Brooklyn,
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, and I was like,
I noticed that. Oh, I forgot.
it's just
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. I was like,
Like, okay.
okay, yeah, all right,
Brooklyn.
we know what you mean. Yeah, that place.
Central Park.
Yeah, Central. Yeah. It's just really funny. So apparently on Central Park there was the seal of the seven wings, and it needs to be sealed back up because there was a breach. Remington leads the Magdalene Order. So during this time, after episode 5, I'm definitely like, okay, you're cool now, I guess. Like episode 5 and 6, he's definitely on my good side again. But episode 5 really made me think, like, yo, what's going on? But I do just believe he is one of the leaders, and he knows that this entity Ion is coming, most likely for Rosette because of his connection with Joshua. So I now, after watching these episodes, I'm like, yeah, I guess he was just trying to toughen her up and get her going to fight off the inevitable thing that she most likely will have to fight. Episode 5, he kind of had me, but now that I'm seeing him lead the Magdalene Order, do all these good things, I'm like, okay,
And then with episode 6, especially, it's like that, or I'm sorry, 8. After episode 8, this
yeah,
next episode, it's especially just kind of like, yeah, I feel like the events of that episode would not happen if his intentions were not pure. But again, like he is characterized now as somebody who plays by the ends justify the means, and I'm willing to bend, if not outright break the rules, if I feel like they need to be broken. So it's just again an observation.
And we kind of got that in the first couple episodes because even Rosette voiced it, or somebody voiced it, that Sister Kate is very strict. And Sister Kate was telling Remington, like, oh, don't baby her.
Yeah,
Don't
you're
baby
right.
Rosette. Like, what are you doing? But he was like, yeah, I'm going to do the thing. I mean, whatever.
I'm just doing the thing.
I'm just doing me. Whatever, man. We get some information
Good
about
cop, bad cop.
yeah, pretty much. Miasma. I got a little confused on the concepts of miasma.
Miasma.
Is the evil from human hearts, and spiritual decay is powering hell. I wrote that stuff down. Don't really know if I understand the concept. Don't think I really need to. I'm just
I
kind
think
of
they
there.
were just trying to make, the whole idea that the seal is broken a lot more like, oh, this is a really bad thing that's happening, and like, innocent like the dude, people were dying.
Yeah.
Like, there you could definitely run this episode back and like find and start a death counter, because there's a lot of deaths that were happening on screen and just off screen.
So finally, like we're talking about, Ion enters and Chrono feels Ion's aura. This man just had so much aura.
Aura.
Chrono feels Ion's aura. Ion crushed Satello's construct with his aura. I was like, this is the way to do it. Like, he is just up here. Like, wait, just looks. And then I was like, okay, all right. This is the level I wanted or needed him to be at, because we've been doing like a lot of silliness, doing a lot of little kills, and while it's really cool, I really did enjoy the episodes. We got the fights, the battles, Rosette shooting people. Need some steaks. And here we are, fresh up, Ion served on a white platter with his hair flowing. Love this guy. Hate this guy, but love that
Hate
guy.
that guy.
Ion wants Chrono to help him again. So here we have the sweetest tongue that he just continues to talk. He laughs that God won't help, that he says he saved Joshua. Say he has sweetened words, trying to play them from the curse of the Almighty God. How did you feel about his sort of monologue talking about like, I am going to save you from the God that is not here? Do you hear him? Where is he? And I'm like, bro, you got it. Like, keep going, dude.
I mean, yeah, he's kind of cooking, but
bro cooked a bit.
But it's just like, with when you get into that type of, it's like when you're in that type of conversation, that type of argument, that type of discussion, it's like, it's ultimately faith at the end of the day.
Yes.
So it's a challenge of faith as to whether they will fall into his words and choose to believe that their faith is meaningless, or if they choose to stand by the things that they believe, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
But it's it's a very challenging argument to put up in their face when you have people right here in this instance that are very much like, have every right to be somewhat mad about the actions that have led them to where they are standing right then and there. It draws everything into question, and it makes one, start to want something to be angry about and want to buy into that apocalyptic mindset, like just burn it all down, and who cares? Who even cares?
I don't know. If I see an apostle and I know of the otherworldly apostle sort of beings, and this little girl literally turned into an angel before my eyes, I'm a believer to the end. So, but
I mean,
I get
it's like yeah, but also like, if angels exist, does that mean demons exist? So if like, you have the demon that's right in front of you telling you exactly what you want to hear, like, do you immediately like run that course of mind? Like, no, they're just telling me what they want. Or is it like, is it more than that? Is it somewhat of a the more that they say that they're, at a certain point it seemed like Rosette just got put into like some sort of trance. Like she just couldn't even like function. She's
Yeah.
non-functional. And at one point she says something like, "Oh, I need clues about where Joshua is." And that's what makes me think that's why she hasn't shot yet. But then at one point he says, like, you can't shoot. And is it because he knows that she won't shoot because she wants clues? So that's why she's not going to shoot? Or is it his overwhelming presence that's causing her to be so stricken with fear that she's unable to act?
It's his stand. His stand is putting a little finger into the gun so it
The
doesn't
gun
blow up.
barrel.
Yeah, down the gun. We can't see it. We can't see it, but there's a little guy just there.
I mean, that's
in the gun
basically what Satella's doing, right? She just has she has stand stones.
It's literally
That's what they should have called them.
Yeah. I wonder if this came out.
Instead of
No,
Summoner
JoJo's
Jules
probably.
Stand Stones.
Yeah, stand stones. Then they would have to change the naming of that to sandstones or something.
Chronos.
Yeah.
Chronos Bizarre Adventure.
Chrono powers up using the miasma as Maria seals them all away with the seal talismans. I think what it was. She had a talisman in her, so that it made the whole thing, and it was huge, placed in Central Park. It's sealed away again, and Ion was a shadow, not the real Aeon. So going into episode 8, it's called Puppets, but the little thing at the beginning said Falling Rain, which is a little odd.
That's happened a few times where like the whatever shows up on screen is the name. Sometimes there's like a little subtitle that says a different name, and I'm just like, whatever. Man.
Episode 8, Puppets, Falling Rain. What happens in episode 8?
Rosette receives a call from the minister requesting a ride home from the train station. We see over there that the minister is being held hostage by some sort of puppeteer using civilians as weapons and hostages. After dropping off Chrono as Maria and their groceries, Rosette takes off to pick up the minister. Everyone at HQ informing Chrono and Asmaria that he took a car to the station already. At the station, Rosette is caught off guard as the hostages force her in. Hearing her brother's name, she gives in to surrendering to also save the minister after she is forced to remember her history with Joshua. Chrono and Asmaria arrive to put up a barrier and force off the assailant, Chrono seeming to recognize their tactics. The minister shows Rosette his contact was delivering info that Joshua had been discovered.
This was another like shift at the beginning. I gotta like start wiping myself like clean, just wiping my brain clean, because this whole nother episode could be something completely different, because this episode was completely different. Hardly
also,
I mean, there was
that to take for liberty, like that like there's probably some sort of passage of time going on between episodes. That's because true. We don't see, even though it's probably implied, like I would say it's implied. To what degree of success is questioned, but that Asmaria like still went through the training to become, a part of the order even after the little mishap. Like they probably still went through, put her through training, and that's why she's able to go out on the field with Rosette now.
Yeah.
So small little things like that just like.
And I'm fine with not seeing it.
Yeah.
I'm cool with not seeing it.
Passage of time, who knows? But now this is the next plot crucial thing, and anything else could have happened between now and the last episode.
The hardest thing to believe in this episode was they had the working backpack phone in their car, like that backpack phone with the cord. And hello, talking on the phone at the beginning. And I'm like, where's the phone? How do you get that? We're in like the 30s or what? 60s? Yeah. I don't know.
We're in the late 20s.
Yeah.
We're about to hit the Great Depression.
And then Remington's just calling Rosette. She's
that's what happened in the very first episode.
Yeah, I know. It's just really funny. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
the whole backpack phone idea has been consistently funny, because that's what happened as well in episode 6, I think, where like that right before she pointed out the car was broken, she had to take the call and be like, hey, our car is broken.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
whatever you want, hangs up. What happened? We
And
have to continue on foot.
yeah, it's like what do you mean? Yeah, it's the most unbelievable thing in this world of angels and demons,
But
but it's
I
really
do
funny.
prefer them doing that to something like magic, or
Yeah,
like, using some
I like
sort of
how
telepathy.
sure I
It's
like
just it's funny because it's like landline-esque funny.
it's funny because she has the cord and she like pulls it out, and I'm like, this silly. I do like a lot of how grounded things are, even though in this some things are kind of crazy, but they still kind of hold themselves to what happens in a real world. And I do like as well that they continue using large landmarks of New York. They actually like have this New York setting and they're playing with it, because last time was Central Park. Now we have Grand Central Station. I'm like, okay, I'm down. Cool.
And even the episode before that, we had the docks.
She crashed into the Statue of Liberty in like episode 1. She's like, oh my god, right at the end of the episode. Like, oh, I crashed into the Statue of Liberty in the ship. Remington asks Rosette to pick him up. Remington meets a devil that can possess multiple humans because he does it, or they do it, because Remington is dangerous, apparently. There was some funny stuff in this episode too, where Rosette just had a huge ass head. I don't think we got the screenshot where she's
Didn't
like
get that one. Yeah.
yelling at the other girls in the Magdalene Order. They still bring
Because
in the funny.
they're all trash talking how she drives like right in front of her.
Yeah,
He's like, and to think,
it was
it
just like,
reminds me of like the Mrs. Puff bit when she finds the piece of paper drawn like her.
I think I look like that. Yes.
Huge head.
Uh-huh.
And to think I went out in the rain and bought groceries for you.
It's so good. They spent a lot of time on it. I felt like this episode was a filler episode a little bit because we
It
didn't
felt
get a whole lot.
kind of fillerish.
They put a lot of time in the yelling, in the groceries that fell, and as Maria being sad and stuff. And I'm like, okay, this is the first time I'm feeling like this, where it's like, this is funny.
Little lull.
Yeah, a little lull, but a little bit. But we get right back into it because Rosette goes alone to go take Remington. A certain person needs her, and that certain person is Joshua. Joshua, we cut to, thinks that his maid is his sister, is how I interpreted it. That from his brain, whatever's going on in his head, that he thinks the girl Fia or something, I forgot her name, is his sister. And he's like, I remember the good times, I remember that. And then the girl's like, yo, I think he needs his sister. Like, what's going on? Information about Remington thinks of Rosette kind of like a daughter, so there is more to the relationship, because he does say that even before she joined the order, I was sort of her caretaker.
Which again draws into the whole question of what was the home life situation like when Joshua left and accepted Aeon as his Lord and Savior or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, what was their home life just really bad, and like they only had each other as siblings outside of maybe the minister, who might have like checked in on them every so often at like an orphanage or something like that. I don't know. We're talking about, again, 1920s New York City. So really there's a lot of ways that I could go from here.
We have a puppet master devil who possesses tons of people, and it got pretty gruesome in this one too. We've been light on the blood, or like, I don't know if like not cringeworthy, but it made me like oof, because in this episode they possess all the people around them, and then they're like, come on, heroes, are you gonna save everybody? And one has like glass to his neck, the child, and I'm like, this is kind of heavy. Like everyone was like, I'm gonna do it.
It definitely felt like, it felt believable. It felt like something that somebody that is truly evil would do.
Yeah. And they took it there.
I'm like, oh, they're like, this is a bad guy. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is not just a Joe Schmo. This is a villain.
And I felt that way with Ion too, but I didn't see it visually. Like the things I know what he was doing, what he was trying to do with his words that make him a bad guy, but seeing it visually in this episode, like that's how far we're willing to go with the Ion. We are talking about apocalypse here. So people are going to die. We've seen people die.
People have died. Yeah.
So it just
And then we
seeing,
just go right back to the minister wants me to pick him up from the station.
yeah, he loves me, whatever. I don't know.
I'm his favorite.
As Mario and Chrono go to save them, we have the crucifix barrier from Asmaria. The spider thing, his name was Rival. And we find out from the package that was left that someone from the Order has seen Joshua. So we have that little tidbit that Joshua is alive somewhere. He not safe, I don't think. I mean, we know that he's safe, but to them, I don't know what's going on. This show has a lot going on, and not like heavy, not like a lot as in like, oh, my brain can't handle it. This is too many things to whatever. It has a lot of things going on that I like. A lot of funny bits in this last episode only that I feel like it was too much funny and too much not something interesting. But overall, there's a lot of characters that I'm liking, a lot of interesting story elements and connections to different characters, introducing new characters and playing off of emotions and going with this huge bombastic fight of the greatest good versus evil story of angels versus demons. And I'm on board. I'm down. I'm ready to see where we're going to get by episode 12. Do you have any predictions of what we're going to see next week?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest prediction is definitely that that I know is probably going to come true is that something with going on with Rosette, where she's withholding some sort of guilt for something that she did, and it probably feels partially, if not wholly, responsible for the fact that Joshua is with Aeon. That's probably my biggest prediction. Everything else is basically more like not questions of if, but like just waiting on reveals, like the reveals of what did Chrono do? How does the minister connect to Rosette before she was in the Order? What were things like at home for Joshua or otherwise that might have caused him to go to Aeon? Like reveals, like, and I don't know if I have good good guesses outside of the whole thing going on with Rosette feeling probably guilty over how things are. Do you have any suggestions? Anything you'd be willing to put your money on?
I think
Predictions.
I think my most outlandish prediction that I don't think we may get to by this show. I think somehow Rosette is an apostle. She's being set up way too high and as way too of an endearing character for her to just be another one of the ranks, because she doesn't have anything super spectacular about her, which is okay, which is a good thing for a story to be like, this person is just a person fighting the highest and most evil devil or whatever. But I think they could take it a little bit more where something happened in her past. Maybe she forgot. Maybe that's what Remington is hiding from them, that he knows that Joshua and Rosette are apostles somehow, and there's something in their bloodline that makes them that. Maybe she is. He did call. Okay, something that tipped that off as well was Aeon, at least in the English version, was calling her Mary Magdalene a little bit and was saying Magdalene. And like, I don't know if he was calling her that or if he was just saying that as they were talking, but putting that name out there, I don't know. Maybe she is some sort of bloodline connection, which would be
Okay.
crazy, but I'm just taking a shot in the dark.
No,
That
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
I mean, the
she
fact that
could
we
be.
don't know their parents, so
Mm-hmm.
that brings a lot of bloodline questions in to the picture for sure.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the way to get out of the whole Chrono taking her life every time he changes, as well as is
That's
to
our
make
scapegoat.
it's an escape to get out of that. Well, she's gonna die at 30. No, she rediscovered her powers or something. I don't know. I think that could be an easy way out, and I would believe it.
I believe it.
Either way, whatever predictions or anything you have, leave them down in the comments if you're watching it later. Leave them in the comments on Spotify. You can comment on Spotify on podcasts, and you should do that because we have gotten some suggestions in the past. But let us know what you think about Chrono Crusade so far. Matt, when you are not crusading the Chronos, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me on my Instagram at it's Matt_Galley on Threads. You could also follow me on my YouTube where we also host this live at Matt_Galley. Jules, when we're not here crusading the Chronos, where can the people find you?
At JulesTheHuman, at JulesTheHuman on all social media, on Instagram, on Threads, on the YouTube channel, on the JulesTheHuman YouTube channels where you can do a $5 super chat or 500 bits on either me or Matt's Twitch if you watch on Twitch. But yeah, you can check out this podcast on all podcasting platforms. You could watch the videos on Spotify if you'd like, and leave us comments if you watch later. Let us know what you're thinking about the show. But next week, we're going to be talking about episode 9 through 12. It's going to be the final time we're talking about Chrono Crusade, and then we're going to pick a brand new anime out of the list here. There's a ton of anime, but if your favorite is not on there, make sure to check our backlog of all the anime we've seen because this is season 3. But give us an anime to watch, and we'll watch it all together. These are the anime for season 3. We have one anime on there, and next week Chrono Crusade is gonna join those ranks. So yeah, sorry, I've been JulesTheHuman, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.